kick things off with you, Danielle,
Mhm.
because you are such a soul-filled actress to me. I feel like you really, really dig into the souls of like every character that you play, regardless of what type of project it is. And I just want to know, like, has your gift always been something that has naturally flowed from you? Or would you say this is, like years and years of obviously like acting lessons and so on and so forth?
I am gifted by my community at the end of the day. I've just been doing this since I was a kid. I'm an Atlanta art scene recipient in that the Black Atlanta art scene has just been really rich and rigorous since like the 70s, quite frankly. Coming up around Jamandi, Kenny Leon's True Colors Theater Company, the National Black Arts Festival in the 90s was like, right, like
Yeah.
I've had the ability to have this kind of interdisciplinary experience that's just really rooted me. And that is from the people who have been around me. And then I am so lucky to intuitively attract filmmakers and writers that have an alignment with who I am and artistically as well as just as a human being, the way that you want to be in the world of art making with people. And so that's what's happened for me along the lines, in all the lines of my career largely. And that's what happened with 40. Spirit moves around and makes things happen in a certain kind of way, and that enables you to explore the full truth, right? Because nothing is done in a silo. And so having a certain collaborative conversation is critical to making any character real and rich. Me and RT, like other projects, directors and writers that I've sat down with, you have heart to hearts, and you're open with your truths in a way with people who you just met in person, but have a greater connectivity to, that has brought you to the making of a project. And so that has enabled my career to be the way that it has been, the work to be the way that it has been, and it has come to this point in the making of 40 as well.
You're so full of grace. I just cannot with you. Absolutely cannot.
Love to, just like Haley.
RT, I always feel like it is so imperative to take things back. And when I'm speaking with writers and, successful directors such as yourself, I want to go back to the initial start of things and the birthing
Mm.
of this project, the birthing of this story and these characters. So if you can kind of take things back with me and walk me through, the beginning of
Mm.
that journey for you, that would be
Uh,
great.
would you say like the journey for particularly this project, 40 Acres? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Look, I think as it came, I've been directing for a little while in different mediums, but I think any director who's worth the name director, the title director, wants to do film, wants to make a film. Films have such power to reveal humanity, to show humanity. They remind us of who we are. And so, yeah, I think when it came to me deciding that I was going to do a film, I wanted to speak from something personal, something that was from my soul. And is a relationship that is part of my life. It's being my mother,
Yeah.
uh, black son, black mother. That relationship is prevalent in our community, and I wanted to have my take on it. This idea of everything that my mother went through. The way she sees the world and how she informed me to move forward in that world. What the gifts that she gave me and the knowledge and the work discipline, and I wanted to have that conversation. I want to talk about, that moment when, the older generation has a certain way, and
Yeah.
as a younger generation person, you have to find your own way. You have to find your own way to interpret that. So I wanted to take that relationship. I think it's a universal coming of age story, but then I'm a genre kid. you know, and I love thrillers and I love science fiction and post-apocalyptic stories. And so I want to take that relationship and project it into, you know, the highest stakes you could have, you know, where, you know, defying your mother could really actually be your death. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally.
not from
literally,
her, but
you know
from
what I'm saying?
others.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, so you know, do that and see what fireworks come from that kind of a story. And yeah, so that was the start of it.
And I feel like, speaking of fireworks and the dynamics of a parent and a child, but in this case, Danielle, yourself and your son Manny. Listen, Manny was more than a notion, okay? And I am a mother. My son is 22 years old, so I was able to over relate to this story. But there was a line towards the middle of this film where Manny said to his mom, "Mom, what do you, I wrote this down. You do not want us to trust anyone because you do not trust anyone." So I'm interested to hear from both of you personally, outside of the professional aspect of things. When we are dealing with the parent and a child dynamics of parents pushing off their truths, their values, their beliefs on their children, like what are your thoughts and sentiments around that?
I mean, give Haley a break, okay? She trusts the land. That's true. She trusts that. That's an entity. No, I mean that is very much a space where me and Haley do not align. I know that I am facilitating the growth, right? I think that I am encouraging, the pathways to be developed by my child, not just you got to do this. This is the only way.
Yeah.
We also just not in those kinds of stakes. Like the background that Haley has militarily, the background that she has with regard to her familial dynamic, the relationship she had with her father, the relationship that she has with the community that began to build around him when she returns, the tension and the distance that has been had in the early life of Emmanuel. And then when we talk about the title, it's 40 acres. It's not 40 acres and a mule. Ain't no more mules. You know,
This is
there is something to that kind of when you're dealing with loss of that at that level, that's the beast when you're talking about spirituality. That's a great grief. The grief of family, the grief of the socio-political economic dynamic, all of that is weighing on who she is as a person, and I can understand how she has come to that space. But the biology of Emmanuel is going to come butt heads with her. It's just inherent. I think she knows that. She's also a person who has taught along with Galen how to be, right? You can't read Parable of the Sword and not, brew a mind that is resistant. You can't read the Proletariat's Pocketbook and not think that resistance isn't bubbling up, but in the belly of the child, right? That's just it just is what it is, and there's nothing that she could do about the biological need that one has to connect. It's just there. And so um it there's a way for it. There are all kinds of options to enable your child to grow, your young person rather, to grow. And she's just been resistant to that. And you would be too if 20 something folks are coming every day or every week to try to kill you and take what you have. So
Real.
what
That's
about
real.
yourself, RT?
Yeah, I think, you know, look, I think I think in life nothing is constant, you know. So we arm ourselves with the things that we need to make it through our existence, through our truth, you know, and that's our journey. But and many of those things are vital to, you know, your young ones, you know, for them to understand and for them to learn. but their journey is not your journey. And so I'm interested in the conversation of that. I'm interested in the fact that, you know, look, this isn't in this film, the family can't just be like, I'm living like this, I'm living like this, and that's it. They have to continue together. So both have to be truthful and say what they need to be said. They have to allow them, both of them have to allow the other to exist. And then hopefully they have to figure out how to come together and continue because they're a family. You know, and especially in this time that we were presenting, there's nothing else. So I'm interested in films that present these dilemmas because they're real to me. You know, those are the real things that families go through, and I want to see that explored. I don't love films that tell you this is the only way that it can be. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in more complex narratives that show real people having to deal with real issues. And so you know, and you know, on a certain day, Haley may be wrong. On many days, she's right, and on certain days, you know, Manny may be right, and then in many cases, he may be wrong. You know what I mean? But yeah,
And we saw all of that. We definitely got, you know, not only a glimpse of it, but had the opportunity to live in it. And I really wish we had more time to talk about this.
yeah.
But thank you both so much for your time today. And congratulations on all of the success that this project has brought forth for you. Thank you so much, Danielle and RT.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.